Right, life in the dry north. There, be sure also to catch up with Nimrod Tabu today for the continuation of that Turkana feature. Now, they have been referred by many people, and they go with actually very long list of names. The latest one being 3GF, third generational political force. Some even say they are American-sponsored movement. The truth of the matter is that whilst they could be the third generational political force, it will be a tag that has been given to them by the current politicians in an attempt to disenfranchise them by stigmatizing them. However, they claim that they are people of the post-independence generation, and they have woken up to the sad and clear realities that this country must be changed. This country won't change on its own accord. One generation must be the change agent, for we cannot and must not continue to rely on failed people and processes. To proceed, they say we must ask ourselves the question, if not us, then who? Well, this morning I'm being joined by Paul Madaraka and Andrew Ndolo Ndale, and they are here to talk about the Madaraka Foundation Trust. Maybe to just start off with you, Paul. What is Madaraka Trust Foundation all about?
Well, Madaraka Foundation is a philanthropic body which caters for good governance, civic education, empowerment of youth and women through education programs, medical, and the many good social deeds. We've been in existence for the last, since 2006, been carrying mainly activities in the Rift Valley, where I come from. I'm a child of the Rift Valley. And we really feel that change can only come from within. And it's on that premise that we decided to initiate the peace-building processes and mediations within the warring communities, predominantly between the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins. We took the step further, and we partnered up with Accountable Leadership Forum, which is a body that is represented by the Kalenjin professionals in terms of articulating for the social goods within the community. So we partnered up with them, and we initiated the peace building process within the Rift Valley. This has been going on for quite a while. We've gone to the grassroots, and it's amazing what comes of it, and the progress is remarkable, where people are exhaling, being able to share the challenges that we went through, what triggered it off, and owning up to the process. So that's basically what we've been doing in the Rift. Yeah.
Right, so you seem to be really loaded for bear to really change the political scenario of this country. And I'm wondering, why the sudden flash of interest in politics, Andrew?
I think that the feeling that it's sudden is misplaced. Our generation has always been involved in politics, from probably as way back as 1992. Either at the Youth League, you saw the YK 92, that was partly a generation of our age. DP, you had the DP Youth League, which was also of our generation. So it's not a sudden interest. What you're seeing unfolding now is a gradual impatience with the ruling class. And this is stemming from the situation that has been presented to our generation, which is that there appears to be no succession plan in any of the existing political parties. And because of that, you find that the youth are agitating for change. What you experienced in the Rift in 2008 was that part of that agitation, restlessness amongst the youth. And I think, unfortunately, that youth tag has been misused a bit. It should really not just be about youth, it should be about credible change.
Credible change.
And the way I see it is, the way forward for this country is that we have to find a break from the past. There has to be a break from the past. We're coming from a very sad past where it appears that the ruling class benefits based on either tribal politics, or they benefit using the poor. A good example is what's been going on in the Rift. You'll notice that we've had a serious back and forth scenario over the peace talks. And what I've I've seen Madaraka Foundation and Accountable Leadership Forum do is go down to the grassroots and engage the communities down there. And recently we saw leaders in Eldoret talking about peace at a rally. And in that peace meeting, there were leaders who were booed. So you tell me how you can start talking about peace and yet you're not even accommodating some of the leaders who've come there. If that was truly a peace meeting, the likes of Franklin Bett should never have been booed. And this is the problem we're encountering in this country. We have a scenario where the leadership class, and not everybody, a select group of them, will play the cards that suit them at that time.
So do you think it's a political gimmick, or
it's always
it is just a do-gooder posturing to show them that really we are trying to broker peace here?
Of course it is, and I'll tell you why. During the violence, there was ample time. And you remember, the violence didn't happen for 1 or 2 days. There was ample time for leaders to step up and talk peace. In fact, I'll tell you something, and this is probably not directed at Kenya. In every nation in the world, when things are okay, you really can't tell what kind of leadership you have. You get to know the leadership you have at times of trouble. When you are challenged, when the situation is challenged, is when you know the leadership. Allow me to digress slightly.
Before you digress, maybe I should engage Paul and ask him.
Yes.
Paul, he's talking about succession, and we're wondering, why is there a problem with succession? Is it because now, from the youth, there's so much apathy? There have been arguments that the youth, they are a bit apolitical. Does that argument really fly with you?
Well, I think, again, and I'll say it's misplaced, in that we've got to be aware of the fact that, I'll take you back to the Club 63.
Yes.
Club 63, at the point in time when we were taking the independence of this country, most of the leaders today we have in the cabinet or in the government took charge of this country. You can't have a double speak. When they were taken up, then they were in their 20s. I'll quote when the current president came back from Makerere. He was a lecturer there. He was only 31 to be the executive officer of Kano. So when you brand the youth today, that they don't have the capacity to lead, then it defeats, it leaves me wondering aloud.
But they've not shown any interest, the youth themselves. They've not been really,
I think
we're talking about apathy from them.
They have, as you've heard my colleague say, right from the year 1992, but they've been suppressed. You can only cup up, warm up a cup with, for so long. Well, the lead is on. At one point in time, it's going to explode. We don't want a scenario like that. What they're doing is we're trying to look for an easy way to be able to express ourselves as the youthful leaders of this country. We don't want to go the way, we don't want to go the Arab world way.
Yeah, true.
We're looking for a way to be able to let them know, and we do appreciate the older generation. Indeed, we need them in any political gathering. We need to appreciate they have their strengths, but what they need to know is that we want them at the consultation level. They have taken us to where they can, but we want to take them to the next level, which we are able to offer. I think that's where we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Andrew, you are digressing, and you're saying?
Yes. I wanted to point out something that you will probably find of interest. I was saying that at times of trouble is when you really tell the quality of leadership you have.
Yes.
You remember when the US was attacked in September 11. And as a result of that, you saw the reactions of the United States president and what that did to the entire world, how it affected air travel and all other issues. Basically, what happens is this: when you are tested, even in your own home, is when your true leadership comes up. At the time of serious challenge in this nation, there was a vacuum of leadership. And once again, we're headed to an election. We haven't dealt with the issues of 2008. we have been treated to a circus over the ICC issue. We have been treated to a circus over the attempts to remove Kenya from the Rome Statutes. And the reality is, one agenda is benefiting 6 individuals.
So do you think there is really a dark underbelly when we're having all this to and fro about the ICC?
Yes, of course there is. What you're looking at is purely 2012 politics. This ICC agenda does not benefit Kenyans in any way. And what do I mean? What I'm saying is removing Kenya from the Rome Statutes does not benefit Kenya. What we are all missing the point here is that the reason we are where we are is because this matter was taken to Parliament. And they decided to take the matter to The Hague. Mm-hmm. The same parliamentarians are now telling us that we have local capacity. And when we're being told that we have local capacity, look at what has happened in the recent few days. We cannot, and this is at the top level of government, we cannot agree on who should be the CJ and who should be the Attorney General, and you're telling Kenyans that you are going to try cabinet ministers who are accused of crimes against humanity, and that it will be impartial. I think that is to really be lying to Kenyans. This is, it is in my opinion, and it's something I have said before, this is a comedy. We are totally unable and incapable of handling this matter. And there are people who will say, oh, you know, we've got capacity, or we've got all the structures that we require. I think the truth of the matter is that if we have a locally constituted bench or legal process to handle this matter, and they rule against a particular person, the next thing you will hear is that that judge was Luo, and therefore he ruled against a Kikuyu, or vice versa. Because already that is where the battle is, on who should be CJ and who should be Attorney General. So if we are already fighting about that, if you have a Luo judge or a Luo panel saying that the Kikuyu guy or a Kikuyu leader was guilty of crimes against humanity, or the other side of the coin, what's going to happen? We'll have demonstrations in the streets of Nairobi, wanamaliza watu wetu. So obviously we do not have capacity now.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, why are they really flying in the face of what they agreed before? Because if you look back last year, they were all for the ICC. Come now, towards the end of last year, up to now, they are really now against the ICC. What do you make of the double speak?
Well, I think they never really seem to think through what they're saying. They are reactionary. They don't sit to think on the repercussions or the consequences, or see through the process. I think it just dawned on them while Mutula Kilonzo tried to get them to constitute a tribunal here. Martha Karua tried to whatever, push them to do it. And I remember there was another gentleman really all insisting on trying to set up a local tribunal. But what seemed to happen then is that they were fighting for supremacy. Because they said, no Hague, don't be vague. Let's go Hague.
Exactly.
They're the same people. The double speak is that it's just dawned on them that reality is setting in. And indeed what they pursued is coming to be. Now, they are really seeing the repercussions, their own actions come into play. And that's why they want to pull back, because the dire consequences are going to happen. There are going to be dire consequences to this process. Others are going to go in, and they feel that attitude, that perception of watu wetu, normally yetu, it's coming to be. Yeah. Same old thing. I think, as is rightfully put it, we're treated to musical chairs, drama, day in, day out.
The speaker was under threat that he should make a decision. It was very, very dodgy ground for him.
A very unfortunate scenario, let me say. It was very skewed. You'd listen to them, the setup comes, and they expect the speaker. I want to congratulate him for the decision that he made. It was for the good of this country. We have structures, we have systems to deal with that scenario. Let us, what precedents are we setting as a top leaders and the coalition partners? I think it was really unfortunate as a youthful leader. I'd want to see the decisiveness, cohesive, coalition. But the minute you start pulling in different directions, what message are you sending out to the youth? That tomorrow, we don't agree, we'll start lashing out at each other in the public. I think there are better ways and better forums to deal with such scenarios. And I think, as briefly put, the speaker did it with a lot of wisdom, took it back to where it belongs. The committees are there, they're constituted, they're mandated to do that. They're abrogated with authority to, to vet the candidates. Let them do the job. Yeah, I think that was really wise of him.
Right, I was talking to Alison Jao, the coordinator of the Foundation for Women Rights in Kenya, Monday, and she said that they had a meeting, and the women there, they were saying they are really fearing that the oligarchs are still gearing up for the political position in the counties and the governance of the county. What do you make of that?
I think she's spot on. There seems to be this misguided belief that specifically the Senate seats are a retirement home for the wealthy politicians who are...
So they should be rocking their chairs there.
Yes, there's that feeling. And I don't know where it's come from. I find it a tragedy because in a country of almost 40 million Kenyans, and the recent statistics we have are that over 70% of these Kenyans fall below the ages of 50. It is a tragedy when we feel that we can only get leadership at that level from only the advanced in age and the wealthy. What we are indirectly saying is that cash is king. And that then means that you can buy your way into office. It has been happening in the past. The reason Kenyans voted for the new constitution is because they felt it gave them an opportunity to actually govern themselves at the grassroots. I don't think all is lost. If you ask me, from everything I've seen, I know that there's going to be quite a lot of money play in terms of some of those seats, because I'll give you an example of my home county, which is Makueni County. You're talking about 5 constituencies. So anybody who is going to be seeking elective office at the county level will have to traverse 5 constituencies. Obviously, it's going to take quite a bit in terms of funding. But I still think from the kind of awareness I'm finding that is growing at the grassroots, we've been invited to various forums where the youth have organized themselves at the county level, and there seems to be an awareness. I think that really the job here, which is a job even the media needs to step into, is to carry out continued civic education.
Continued civic education. Well, I'm sorry, I have to butt in right now and take a call from our viewers. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, how are you? Just tell us your name and you can fire away your question.
Okay, I'm called David Mazeras.
Yes, David.
I'm calling from Embakasi.
Yes.
Now, I just wanted to give a contribution to our agenda of today.
Yes.
And I just wanted to help answer the question that is why the sudden rush, in youth politics.
I want to answer the question.
Just to try to answer this question I'm seeing.
Yes.
Now, I tend to disagree with our speakers here today, because we find the youth currently are rushing to politics simply because of quick money. That's why we see no taxes for MPs and such kind of stuff. And I tend also to disagree because the youth are quite jobless. There are so many out there who are educated trying to make ends. So they think that politics is where they can at least get some competitiveness in securing these positions. And on another point, I realized that youth are not ready for the challenges that comes with leadership. For example, the life experience is quite low. Integrity among the youth themselves is also noted, because you find like the youthful leaders that they have, none of them is not labeled corrupt, and in fact you can see they are corrupt. So I think when it comes to that experience, integrity of the youth, and there is also no transition framework, for youth for leadership. Like there is no age limit set for these people. So I think the rush for youth in politics is simply about to make quick money. And talking about early politicians like our president becoming a youth a Kanu leader by 1931, during that time, these were the only people who were educated around. But today, everybody is educated. So you tend to find maybe at 60s when you can get this opportunity and lead. I only have this to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Yes, another caller on the line. Hello.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Morning to you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Just tell us your name and
yes. My name is Gaboni. I'm just calling from Nairobi.
Yes, Gaboni.
I want to really support Andrew and his colleague. I think what you're doing is good, and I think it's right. I really hear you on your position with regard to the ICC and with regard to this comedy that we are seeing. And I really hope the whole nation is hearing you, because really, we have really been put in a position as Kenyans where we are thought like we don't think. We see our politicians treating us like we do not think. Number two, I've seen that your organization or whatever your structure is really an Ukambani forum, kind of like a thing. And I was wondering, are you nationwide? Are you all over the nation? Because we would want to support such leaders. Come 2012, we really want to get rid of all these comic circus players that we have. And we really wonder, do you have this as a national movement kind of thing, like it's not limited to a region? Because many of us want to support such kind of leaders, you know, people who are men and women of integrity. So really, thank you for what you're doing. And really, I really hope you can be louder in terms of reach everyone. Let Kenyans understand what kind of leadership we do have. Thank you.
Right, another caller on the line. Hello.
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 Yes, my name is Mari. I'm calling from Mombasa.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the guests who are there today for such an insightful view on the youth and politics of this country. Now, my question is, just recently, we've seen youths with bows and arrows and sticks in Likia, because the population that they are the youths, no two ways about it. And they're the very same youths whom we want them to take up the political stage of this country. And the same youth are the ones who come to the songs of Akietu, who pull out the railway lines and whatnot. As leaders of the youth in respective forum, one from the Rift Valley and one from Mukambani, what steps or measures are there in place to make sure that, as you say, that as much as the media should have a continued civic education and awareness, on your part, what will you do in bringing sense to the youths and telling them that, you know what, this what you are doing is not the way on resolving the issues and whatnot? Do you have a strategy on, say, changing the attitude and mentality of the youths towards going into violence as a means of resolving their problems and such good things? Thank you.
Another call on the line. Hello. Right. Raft of issues that we have there, and
very quickly, first one, challenge to the youth. The belief is that the youth are going into politics because of money, because of quick riches.
Does that argument fly with you?
Well, you know, I recognize that he has a right to an opinion. It is a little sad for me to hear those words being uttered, and I'll tell you why. When you are dealing with the majority of the population, you are definitely going to find people who are not upright. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. And I would not sit here and say that the youth are going to present Kenyans with angels. But it is also a defeatist attitude to have a minority dictating to a majority how we're going to do things. Mm-hmm. This is a recipe for disaster. What you are seeing in Tunisia and other places is a scenario where the majority feel we are not consulted in what's going on, we are not involved in any of the activities that are taken up by the government. We therefore want to step up and say, you need to consult us now. So what you're seeing there is a majority saying, listen, a minority is ruling us and they're not interested in our opinion. This is the same situation you're facing in Kenya. The majority now, by some science or law of the numbers, is now of a certain generation. Maybe in 1964, when we had 8 million Kenyans, the majority were not youthful, were not educated, were not exposed. Mm-hmm. Today we have over 15 million youth, or let's put it this way, we have over 15 million Kenyans on mobile phone. You know how powerful SMS is today. You've seen sites like the interactive sites, Facebook, Twitter, just to mention a few. We have a majority population that is informed and educated. If you try to put a cap on that generation, you will have a revolution, like it or not.
Credibility and character. It seems like it's really wanting on the scenario when we have the youthful leaders who are coming. We're having all this fires that are coming from the public, from the skeletons, from their closets.
I'll say this very simple, and I've said this before. Leadership is offered to those who offer themselves. It's never passed on. And the perception, the politics has been for those others. Today, it's coming to, the youth are owning up to the process. It's no longer the business of those others. It's our business. Because politics is what delivers food on the table, affects our life, takes us to where we're going. So they're taking charge. They're coming to reality, to terms with the realities. The politics, indeed, is an integral part of their life, and they want to own it. Mm-hmm. So it's shaking the status quo. People are feeling threatened that indeed we're agitating for our rights within their space, which they perceived it to be their space. And that's why you're seeing all these anxieties being raised.
Well, there was argument about numbers. They're saying it's not about how young you are.
Yes,
it's about the credibility and the character and what you have to bring on the table. So what do you have to bring on the table?
First and foremost, let me just answer this.
Yes.
I think we'd like to give the confidence to Kenyans that indeed we've identified what the core issues and our pillars as youthful leaders and credible are to fight the three vices which have degraded us to where we, brought us to where we are today. This is no other than negative ethnicity. As I grew up, I didn't know, I didn't know what my mother tongue is. I was only reminded when we started seeing the clashes in the 1992 where my father came from. Well, as I grew up, I could only talk English or Kiswahili. Or rather, not even Kiswahili, sharing. That's all we grew up with. I'm married in the I have a cross marriage. Today, my kids, as they stand up, they can't tell you which tribe they belong to. They are Kenyans. Their tribe is Kenya. Secondly, is the impunity. All what you're seeing is a recipe of the perpetuation of impunity. Even as late as what you were seeing in the drama in Parliament yesterday. That's tantamount to impunity. Where we've spent billions of shillings. We spent 8 months campaigning for a referendum to bring in a new constitution so that we can have order in whatever we do. But somebody sits somewhere and decides that irrespective of the new constitution, don't give a damn about it.
So we'll come to that. We have to take a call. Good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, just tell us your name and you can...
My name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from Mombasa.
Yes, Emmanuel.
And I just wanted to make a contribution on the whole issue about youth and politics.
Yeah.
I think there are times that we're living in, things are happening very fast in Africa. And the changes that we are having basically is to show that actually the youth are beginning to take charge of their own issues. But I wanted also to say that value systems are changing. And I think within the Kenyan context, we need to help the young people begin to appreciate the changes that are coming. In terms of funding, why don't we, because it appears most of the time, it is the people who have the money who give it to the youth. Why don't we do it the way Obama did it, whereby we ask the youth to contribute for the leaders who they feel they want to take the leadership positions. With that change of mindset, I think we are going to make a big difference in this nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Another call on the line. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Jared Satemo.
Yes, Jared.
I'm calling from Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to thank these two gentlemen.
Jared, kindly speak up. We can barely hear you.
Yes, I'm thanking the two gentlemen for the work they are doing. I'm thanking them. I'm contributing, please. Youths, Kenyan youths, we are tired. You know, it has reached a point where we are being pushed. We are almost reaching a corner. I want to request them, please, can you hurry up and put some mechanisms whereby we can be able to have like a movement whereby we can be in the whole of Kenya so that we can revolutionize this country. That's what I have to contribute.
Thank you, Jared. Hello? Right. Good. So many questions we didn't even exhaust the others that we asked, but we really need to talk about the bows and arrows, the fighting that is going on. We still remain none the wiser, even after what we went through in 2007, 2008, post-election violence. Still,
I suppose
the mindset is still there. It's not changed, and people are wondering, how do we change this attitude?
I think we need to see action, and this is why we're agitating for a legal the legal process of ICC to take to take root, exactly. So that tomorrow, when somebody walks out in the streets and start, through impunity, in total disregard to the rules and the laws in place, you start seeing a guy with a bow and arrow or a panga or machete. We need to set a precedence by taking on some of these guys, not only the big fish, even the small guys. Let's take them through the legal process. Because it's well defined within the Constitution how we need to deal with such guys who perpetuate impunity. And then that will set a good precedent. Because the attitude of adhere to, that collectiveness, collective misbehavior has to come to, has to end. But that happens because the youth feel that, they are only a subject of others. It's hopelessness. Poverty, riding them to this. We need to redefine their way of life by empowering them. It's only a wishful thinking. They are our people. We are the youth. The country owes it to them in terms of setting out structures which can empower them, preoccupy them. While as a youth is preoccupied, he has no business being in the streets, and that's where we are. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
I look at the youth fund. I think it's another big joke.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, worse off than Golden Bank. I'm not trying to say this is what is happening, but it can be abused. We're setting up a youth fund to private banks. That's taxpayers' money being channeled to private banks to be disbursed to the youth. But when they get to the banks, they meet the commercial, they ask for the commercial requirements to access the loans. How many are the beneficiaries of those funding? So what happens is, the money ends up, which is taxpayers' money, ends up remaining with the banks because the youth cannot access it. They cannot meet the criteria. So what happens? Overnight lending with the banks? Trade with taxpayers' money? While as the youth are suffering out there.
Right.
So we need to take charge. We need to own the failures and empower the youth by setting up structures which are easily accessible by them. Then we won't have all these scenarios. The other thing I'd say, we're talking about the funding. Good that somebody raised the question about the funding. The power of the phone today. How many registered money transfer systems do we have? We have the M-Pesa. If we have around about 16 million people registered today, in the month of March, the turnover of M-Pesa alone in the month of March was 38 billion Kenya shillings. I don't know whether you're aware. It only takes the Kenyan youth and youthful leaders, youthful personalities in this country, to sacrifice a meal for a day and contribute 400 shillings. Let's take at the very least 10 million Kenyans to a kitty which is going to be a financial kitty for the presidential candidate to have one of their own in State House. That is how much, translates to how much? 4 billion Kenya shillings. So the perception that we don't have the resources because we expect people from out to come and fund us.
It's just right here with us.
It's right here with us.
Right. Gadoni was worried.
Yes.
It's just an Ukambani thing that you have.
True, true.
Do we have any national outfits? We've gone county now.
Yes, I'm happy you said that. It is important that the likes of how we're watching know that we are not civil society operators. And I say this with the greatest of respect to the civil society organizations in this country who've done excellent work and are continuing to do excellent work and who have taken over the job of the watchdog for the people. But we are political. We are a political outfit. Outside the groups that you've mentioned, we are actually tying up a political party as we speak. We've got networks in most parts of this country. We are rolling out a political agenda. We are going to present Kenyans with a presidential candidate from outside parliament. There are things that I've heard today that I realize we need to address. There was a gentleman from Embakasi who talked about the youth and his misgivings. We are structuring a party pretty much under the structures of the ANC in South Africa. Why have we picked the ANC? It is the oldest party in Africa. We're talking of a party that was formed back in the 1912. And what they did, which is what we want and are now in the process of doing, is recognizing the value of the different levels of our society. African culture actually has a succession plan. It's just that the greed that has penetrated our political system here has made it impossible for even the African custom to come into play. I'll give you the example of the Maasai community. In the Maasai community, you have different steps of growth. As a young man, before you are circumcised, you are in a particular age group. After you are circumcised, you move to another age group. You become a Morani. After that, you move again to another generation where you marry. And you are now ushered into the Council of Elders, but as a junior member. And you move on up. And this is the same structure that the ANC has. They have the Youth League, which is between 18 and 35 years old. The moment you cross 35 years old, you move up to the leadership. Now, what they also have is something they call a Veterans League. For them, it's a veteran because they come from a conflict background, fighting apartheid. There was an armed wing and everything. What we would have, and which is what we are structuring now, is a Council of Elders. It would be absolutely naive of us to imagine that you can carry out the daunting task of leading a great nation like this without the wise counsel of our fathers. But what we are saying is that Council of Elders is not going to be constituted of people purely because of what they have in the bank accounts. We're looking at community leaders from the various communities in this country, people who have excelled in various areas. It could be in the church, it could be in business, but who are respected. One of the roles of the Council of Elders in our political party will be conflict resolution. So just, in a nutshell, we are rolling out a political party. We will present it to Kenyans. In fact, we have given ourselves a deadline of April to come out and unroll it. We will start national recruitments. We are going to engage the people at the grassroots. We are not going to walk to, for example, Koibatek and say, we have come in with so-and-so. We are going to engage them and they will give us the leader that they would like to work with us. We are mapping out all the county seats. We're going to have a vigorous activity, and we will take over the leadership of this country in 2012.
Right. Now, Paul, before I interrupted you were talking about the new constitution. And right now we are having problems with the implementation, and we're wondering, are the youth really consulted even through the implementation of this constitution? Do you think they are engaged?
Well, you look at the appointments of the implementation commissions, it's sad that indeed you look at the configuration of the personalities involved, whilst taking cognizance of the fact that we have the youth well knowledged and they're up to the challenge, they have been ignored. And I think I'd like to challenge this, to challenge the appointed nomination agents to come up and realize that there's these other constituents called the youthful, and the youth, they can only wish it away. It's not a scenario of a classroom where you have a teacher standing in front there and always telling the students. They need to take cognizance of the fact that the youth and the youthful people in this country form 70% of the population. If you have to indeed make a decision or a policy that affects the populace, it has to be for those people who are the majority. And that's where we are. They are failing, and I think it's a challenge they need to take seriously. Not that I have any misgivings about the constitutions, the people, the commissions, but I think it is failing on one aspect in terms of recognizing the strengths of the youthful and youth in this country.
Finally, as we are winding up, you have ambitions of becoming the next president of Kenya. Why should we elect you?
My goodness, why did you go there? I'll tell you something. First and foremost, and I keep repeating this is a great nation of great people. Reason we've not rolled out the agenda we have is because we recognize that this nation does not deserve to be given a half-baked concept. In the past, Kenyans have been treated to mediocre style politics. We appreciate that fact, and because of that, we are rolling out a very serious program. We are taking into account different groups. We are putting together policy papers, and it's going to take at the very least, given the distance we've traveled, another month or so for us to be ready to roll out. So I will ask you to allow me to answer that question at the proper time when all our groups are on board. But we are going to present Kenyans with the leadership, and we will change this country for the good of all Kenyans.
Wish you all the best.
And in conclusion, and this is off the point, recently in the papers, the Honorable Anyang' Nyong'o went public that he's battling cancer. And I find that we have to put a human face to the way we do things. I don't know him at a personal level. It just touched me when I read the article. And I would just like to ask Kenyans to say a prayer for the Honorable Anyang' Nyong'o and his family, because it's a serious battle, and cancer is a serious battle. And we pray that he heals and that he's able to continue being a productive member of our society.
Right. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you coming. Well, confluences of issues there that we've discussed today, and they are loaded for bear. They are straining at the leash to bring change in our country. Should we give them a sporting chance? Well, that's up to you to make up your mind about it. And also, we know today is World Cancer Day, and just as Andrew said, we know one of our ministers is ailing, and also we should just say a word of prayer. My name is Dibala, and I thank you for your valued company. Have a good one.